How you doing?
I just want to say I love y'all. Y'all are so cool. Y'all are so talented. Okay. Okay, so hey everybody, I'm a returning player from last year's Lambda, and when I was thinking of what I wanted to read tonight, I realized that I haven't written anything a lot recently that scared me. And so on the plane over here, I was like, let's write something that scares me. So I'm scared. This is a piece I've just started working on called Abram Johnson is Not Going to Kill Himself Before He Turns 25. Content warning. So heads up about suicide type stuff. But because the piece is like an interactive kind of like solo piece, and I've just started working on it, it's imperfect, we're cool. You can choose to participate, you don't have to, you can chill out. But if you do choose to participate, you're just gonna need, when I point at you, to say a phrase. And the phrase is, and that's okay. And that's okay. Okay, so let's try it.
And that's okay.
One more time.
And that's okay.
Cool. Okay, so here's a little bit of Abram Johnson is not going to kill himself before he turns 25. Abram Johnson is probably shaking right now.
And that's okay.
Abram Johnson's voice is probably going to crack throughout this piece.
And that's okay.
Abram Johnson is maybe going to mumble because when you go through years of speech therapy, when you're taught that the gay voice is unlovable, mumbling can become one of the only safe alternatives. But sometimes you can have these fleeting moments, usually when you've had too much wine, where vocal barriers slip down and every word is drenched in this golden faggotry, and maybe it's Dionysian or maybe it's less romantic, but whatever it is, there's a voice in there and it's singing.
And that's okay.
Abram Johnson is maybe going to take a second to fully grasp that a year ago he was standing in this room, like right over there, and his life changed. That on the last night of Lambda last year, they played Real Love by Mary J. Blige. And he had just gotten through the hardest 6 months of his life, and someone yelled over the music to him, "This song is older than you." And that was funny, and it was true, but he had this thought that maybe those songs are older than all of us. Abram Johnson has not seen Call Me By Your Name. He does not want to see Call Me By Your Name. And he thinks Timothy Chalamet looks like one of those greasy Axe body spray middle school boys. Abram Johnson is still trying to negotiate his feelings of feeling gay enough, or what that even means in the first place.
That's okay.
Abram Johnson is still having to remind himself that if his queer body is not for your consumption, but also some people find a release or strength through being consumed.
And that's okay.
Abram Johnson believes that sex is really great, but so is being able to sit on the sofa with your partner during a storm, and the power goes out and you burn through 2 candles talking until the morning. But also sex is really cool.
And that's okay.
Abram Johnson believes that queer people are more spiritual and maybe even more holy than anyone else, because it takes a certain amount of faith to keep holding your boyfriend's hand after you almost get run over by a car in Athens, Georgia, or to keep doing drag in downtown Athens after a queen was hit in the head with a brick 2 years ago, or to exist as any sort of queer person at the University of Georgia when the day after Trump's election swastikas were written in chalk on some of the sidewalks. Abram Johnson believes that love is heterosexual propaganda. Abram Johnson believes that queer love is worth more because generations have died for it. Our queer parents have died for it, and he doesn't like the Bible that much, but there needs to be an edit for honor your trans fathers and your trans mothers and your non-binary ancestors. Abram Johnson has attempted something 3 times, and he's not going to say it because maybe it would be too obvious or like gross to say. But he slogged through some shit to be standing in this room, and maybe we've all slogged through some sort of shit to be in this room. And maybe we're still trying to shake off some of that shit, or maybe we're learning how to grow flowers through it all.
And that's okay.
One time when Abram Johnson was 12, an upstanding community member told him that people who have gay sex get AIDS, and people who get AIDS die before they are 25. And maybe he was too young to understand how fucked up that is, or even that it was like false. And maybe he's still trying to work through exactly how much he's carried that around with him. And maybe that explains the reason why he couldn't stop shaking the first time he kissed a boy, and the second time, and many more times than he'd like to admit. So 25 has always been a scary age to him, and it's not for another couple of years. But Abram Johnson is not going to kill himself before he turns 25. He's not going anywhere after that either.
And that's okay.